Thank you for tuning into another video from JRM Recaps. Today we will be discussing the 2008 film, Death Race. Hope you enjoy. Spoilers ahead. The film opens in 2012 where we learn that the United States economy has collapsed, unemployment hits a record high, crime rates spiral out of control, and prison systems reach a breaking point. Private corporations now run all correctional facilities for profit. The movie centers around the Terminal Island prison, which at one point streamed a series of cage fights live on the internet, where prisoners fight to the death, creating a ratings sensation. They are the new gladiators and Terminal Island is their coliseum. But like the mob of ancient Rome, the modern audience soon becomes bored. They demand more, so the Death Race is born. Death Race is not only a race to the finish line, but a battle pitting car against car. The following scene starts by showing a race near its end between Machine Gun Joe and a famous masked driver known as Frankenstein, who is joined by a female navigator. Frank's defensive systems fail, and Joe destroys Frank's car, while his navigator ejects herself. Frankenstein is either critically wounded or dead from the explosion. Jensen Ames is finishing up a hard day at work at the steel mill, which is closing down for good. He collects his final paycheck, a measly $300, and heads back home to his wife and baby. Jensen goes to the bathroom to clean up before dinner, and when he comes back downstairs he sees his wife lying on the floor. All of a sudden he is attacked by a masked intruder that points a finger gun at Ames as he leaves. Once the police arrive, Jensen is arrested on suspicion that he murdered his wife. 6 months pass by and Ames is shipped off to Terminal Island Prison where he is coerced by the sadistic prison warden, Hennessy, to become the new driver of Frankenstein's Ford Mustang. She lets Ames know that she is aware of his baby that was left in foster care, and that prisoners are freed after winning 5 death races, but since he will assume the mask of the amazing Frankenstein, who had 4 wins at the time of his death, he will just have to win 1 race. The races are split into 3 stages. Stage 1 and 2 are races in which the driver must survive, and for Stage 3 you must win the race for it to count towards freedom. Just before the Stage 1 race, Ames is introduced with his female navigator, Elizabeth Case, who was Frankenstein's previous navigator. During the race, Ames sees another driver, Pachenko, makes a hand signal with the finger gun towards him. The very same as the intruder that killed his wife. 3 drivers are killed during Stage 1, Syed, Grimm, and Travis Colt. Due to a very hard shot by Machine Gun Joe, Ames finishes Stage 1 of the race in last place. Ames learns he is part of a scheme to keep the legend of Frankenstein alive, for the sole benefit of Hennessy. He meets with Hennessy and confronts her about Pachenko, but she instead shows him photos of his child living with foster parents, asking him if he thinks he could provide his child a better life than the foster parents. Irritated, he takes one of the photos and leaves. The night before Stage 2, he takes a trip to the garage of Pachenko's team to confront him. It is a 3-on-1 and he is beaten down by the members of Pachenko's team but is helped by an individual from his garage, allowing Ames to fight back and almost kill Pachenko. His revenge is cut short by the prison guards telling them to save it for the race. Ames goes into the Stage 2 race and right away questions Case on her intentions. She lets him know she was ordered to sabotage Frankenstein's defense weapons so he wouldn't win his freedom, and would win her own by doing so. Ames realizes he isn't intended to survive the death race but is actually meant to die so another Frankenstein can be brought into the prison to keep online viewers paying to see the races. He looks for revenge on Pachenko during Stage 2 by crippling and rolling Pachenko's car. Not caring about the race at all, Ames drives backward, opens his door, and hits Pachenko with it. To complete his revenge, Ames exits his car and walks up to Pachenko, then kills him by snapping his neck. 5 drivers remain until 14K, Carson, and Riggins are killed by the Dreadnought, Hennessy's newest secret weapon. The Dreadnought, an 18-wheel fortified truck loaded up with huge machine guns, which took months to build. Ames decides to communicate with Machine Gun Joe by radio, and the two work together to obliterate the Dreadnought and finish Stage 2 of the race. Realizing that Ames knows what is going on, Hennessy has Ames' car fitted with an explosive before the Stage 3 race as insurance to ensure he doesn't cross the finish line alive. In any case, Ames devises his own plan from a picture shown by one of his team members of a destroyed billboard in a previous race, and lets Joe know that he and Frankenstein should have a talk. The Stage 3 race begins with just 2 drivers remaining, Frankenstein and Machine Gun Joe. The race starts, and Ames, not before long, takes the lead. However, the odds are in Machine Gun Joe's favor as Hennessy rigs the track to help Joe. Throughout the whole lap, Joe keeps hot on Ames' tail, and as they near the beginning of the second lap, Joe prepares his newly added missiles and fires one of them towards Ames. However, they appear to miss the car and rather hit the billboard at the first turn of the track. It is shown that the picture Ames saw was a pathway to the bridge connecting the island to the mainland, which was right behind the destroyed billboard. Ames and Joe escape onto the bridge, sought after by police cruisers and helicopters. As the police close in on their cars, Ames discharges his exposed gas tank, making it detonate and stop the cruisers chasing them. Turning to her contingency plan, Hennessy then orders that the explosive under Ames' car be set off. However, nothing happens due to Coach, Ames' mechanic, having already found, removed, and deactivated the bomb before the beginning of the race. Escaping past the bridge, Joe and Ames take their own paths, and Hennessy orders the helicopters to zero in on Ames. However, Ames switches seats with Case when she lets him know that Hennessy had already signed her release papers for her work, and that she owed one to the old Frankenstein. For a very brief moment, when they are out of sight of the helicopters, Ames jumps from the car with everyone thinking he is still inside. Joe gets together with Ames and they board a passing train to escape, both still angered by Hennessy's continued existence. Soon after, Ames' Mustang is stopped and Case, wearing the mask and pretending to be Frankenstein, is apprehended. Afterward, Hennessy believes she actually won after all that occurred, and a guard informs her about presents sent to her for the record number of viewers subscribing to the death race. She opens up the present just to find that the explosive placed in Frankenstein's car is inside. Coach then detonates the device and blows up her and the guard. 6 months later, Ames and Joe are shown working in a junkyard in Mexico when Case out of the blue shows up. The 2 men are glad to see her, and Case meets Ames' child, Piper. The film closes with Ames explaining that despite the fact that he knows he's a long way from being the best parent in the world, nobody could love his child more than he could. Thank you for watching our recap. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe for future videos. Also, try some of our other videos displayed on screen.